because everybody here knows that the man is a werewolf.
It's the strange case of a man named Thiess, who claimed to be a werewolf. It happened in 1691 in what is now Latvia. Historian Bruce Lincoln explains.
Old Thiess is a Latvian peasant. He lives in a small town. He's up in his 80s, and he's scheduled to appear as a witness in a trial that's being held. There apparently was a theft from the local church, and he is somehow knowledgeable, and he's waiting to take the oath before he testifies. And in that moment, one of his fellow villagers snickers and catches the judge's attention. And the judge asks this fellow, "What are you laughing about?" And he says, "Well, Old Thiess is about to take this oath, and how is that possible? Because everybody here knows the man is a werewolf." And in that moment, the whole trial shifts, and attention focuses on Old Thiess, and the judges say, "Is this true?" And he says, "Well, yes, it is true. I am a werewolf." And suddenly we have the trial of Old Thiess emerging out of this earlier trial. And he freely admits to being a werewolf. He lives in an area that is to werewolves what Transylvania is to vampires.
I am Dracula.
There are rumors and legends about werewolves everywhere, and there's a large body of thought about werewolves that circulates in church documents, court documents, learned treatises, and all of these maintain that werewolves are agents of Satan, demonic powers, responsible for the theft of livestock and for riotous behavior of various sorts.
Old Thiess surprised the court by telling them werewolves were actually good, not evil.
And instead of confessing to be an agent of Satan, which is what all the judges expect and demand, he refuses, and he says, "You've got everything wrong. Werewolves are not what you think. They're forces of God, not Satan. We battle against witches and sorcerers and satanic powers constantly. We enter hell as invaders on behalf of our community. Our goal is to recover everything that the demonic forces have stolen from the people. And, you have to understand that we're, inspired agents of good."
Part of the positive image of werewolves provided by Thiess includes also let's say, not only the fight against witches, but also the recovery of seeds which have been stolen by the witches and brought to hell. So fertility is part of the positive image of werewolves.
And at the end of the trial, the judges, who legally must have either an eyewitness to satanic collusion or a confession, they simply don't know what to do. They throw up their hands, they can't reach a verdict, they refer the case to a higher court so that they don't have to deal with it. The higher court convicted Thiess, and they inflicted a relatively minor punishment on him. He was subjected to, I think it was 20 blows in public, but he got off lightly compared to some of his predecessors.
And just how did Thiess become a werewolf?
The turning point, how to become a werewolf, was related to drinking beer.
It's something of an initiation. An older werewolf takes someone like Thiess, who is not yet a werewolf, gives him a glass of beer that he's blown over 3 times and infused with his breath, and says, "Take this and you will be like me." And when the new werewolf drinks that, he acquires the ability to transform himself into a werewolf and joins a band of others.
Lincoln and fellow scholar Carlo Ginzburg were fascinated by the case and co-wrote the recent book Old Thiess, a Livonian werewolf. The two don't always agree on how to make sense of this old world werewolf, but they agree that the story of Thiess is fascinating.
We almost never hear a werewolf speaking in his own voice. And to hear such a voice is extremely unusual.
And the question remains, did Old Thiess actually turn into a wolf?
He at one point says he put on a wolf's pelt, the cloak of a wolf, ran about on all 4s, stole livestock, pigs and cattle and such, devoured them, although he insists that they were cooked. He did not eat them raw. My own sense of this is that to be a wolf means to be a predator and means to be outside the law. Locals occasionally steal cattle and sheep and sometimes maybe even horses, pigs certainly, from the nobles. And when they do so, they experience themselves as predatory outlaws, aka wolves.
This is Inside Edition Digital.